Hey everyone, it's Karen from Art Social 805. I'm just going to bring you a little quick tutorial on some cacti. So I've been really, I love cactus. I have them around my house and I have lots of succulents, so I thought I would share one with you. A simple painting, really simple. And as a matter of fact, I've drawn mine out already and I already have the background color on it, just in the interest of time, so you don't have to watch me paint the whole background. But what I'm using today is I'm using golden acrylic paints. These are my favorites. They're golden fluid acrylics. And they come in a variety of sizes, 1, 4, and I think 8 ounce. And I have some sap green hue. I have some green gold, some quinacridone magenta, titanium white. I'm using a basic black. I might even pull in some teal. I've covered up my surface. I have a series of brushes that I'm going to be using. I've got a little towel off to the side, and of course my super messy palette. Also, sometimes I print off pictures off of the internet just to give myself some inspiration for color. I don't necessarily want to copy this. I want to make my own, but I do want to, I really like the colors and the shadows and the complements that they have here. So I just use these as kind of a reference for when I do a painting. So when I have, what I have is the background. This is a mixture of quinacridone, magenta, and white, and I mix it off to the side. And I just painted in with a large brush. You can see it's not all consistent, which is fine because I can always go back in and touch that up again. So now I'm just going to be working on the part of the prickly pear cactus. And then I'll get into the vase. First I'm going to fill in the inside of the cactus. And I'm going to do that with a little bit of this sap green just alone. So I just want it nice and dark. And I'm going to use a really small brush, roll up my sleeve, and I'm just going to kind of fill this in around here. And it looks so dark, it almost looks like black itself, but it is got some dark green in there. And I can always, I'm going to go back and touch this up, but I just want a little basic color in here now. Doesn't have to be perfect, because you could see some of my brush strokes, and that's okay. Now I'm going to mix some of my sap green and a little bit of the green gold off to the side. Just give me my Q-tip. And I'm going to use this size brush here to kind of mix it together. I like using this brush because it has nice clean edge. And what I mean by that is, like, when I lay it down, when I lay the colors down, I could really pull it off to this, and I get a nice crisp edge. I'm just going to fill some of this in nice. It's kind of thin. You could see it's the texture of the canvas. And this is just a simple, plain old canvas. It's just one of these canvas boards. I use these to practice a lot. They're so much easier to store. They don't take up a lot of space. I'm going to come back in here with, some different colors and shading, but I'm going to come in and do this bottom one at the same time, pull some color down here. So this is a flat brush. I really like using these sometimes because then I could get these nice, sharp, crisp edges with the side of it. If you have enough paint on your brush, you're going to get a nice clean edge. And then I can cut back into it the opposite way. I don't like to paint this whole thing. I like to go around these parts just to help show that they are separated. I'm going to add a little bit of white mixture to that combination that I just did. Of course, being stubborn. I'm going to lighten that up a little bit, and then I'm going to do these colors in here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to fill them in nice, get a nice clean edge. I often listen to a book while I'm painting or doing something creative, but today it is spa music. Now, if you don't like the size of this type of brush for these small areas, you can switch to a different size brush, and I will when I get into those little crevices, but I really like this for making these edges nice and clean. I don't mind it. I'm just going to go back in here and define that a little bit more, and up here as well. I just switched my brush. Okay. Then I'm going to go back into these, and I'm going to add a little bit more dimension to these colors. I'm going to darken that up a little bit. Adding a little bit of white. I'm going to start adding a little bit of highlight to the one side of all these cactuses. And I'm not really like a blender kind of, not a painterly type painter. I like seeing my brush strokes. I like it to be nice and loose. So I don't mind that you see those at all. I'm going to pull in a little bit of Hansa yellow into that combination. Let's see if I could brighten this up, and yeah, it does. And before, my paint was just diluted quite a bit with some water, and now it's filling in a little bit more. I'm just building on the color, building on the texture. I'm going to try to pull a lot of water out of that now. I'm going to want to darken up some of these sides, the right sides. And like I said, I don't mind the brush strokes. Add a little bit more of that sap green. I'm going to make it a little bit darker towards the bottom here too, because that's where my shadow would be, and along this side. It's okay to have these textured, you know, they're smooth plants, but they do have a lot of character. And then where these two come together, they're going to be a little bit more shadowed. I'm just going to pull that through here. I'm going to go a little bit lighter now to the other side. Just going to have little pops. Brighten it up a little bit on that side. I want to leave some of this dark around the rim of these so you could see where it's attached, and then I'll put the white in, or that lighter color in, so now it kind of looks like it's sitting in it instead of on top of it. Okay, I'm going to let that sit for a minute. Rinse out my brush. Now I like the contrast between these two colors, but I don't want to add a third because it would just maybe seem a little bit too overwhelming to me. So I did another painting earlier that had grays, and I really liked how it looked. So I'm going to do the same for this one. I'm going to make this pot have some gray tones. And I'm just using some titanium white and black together. And I'm going to do this in 4 spots. I'm going to highlight this side. I'm going to low light this one. This rim is going to be pretty light. It's going to be a step above that one, and then I'm going to have a basic color in the middle. So right now I'm just going to fill it in. And then I could get a little bit more detail. And again, I'm using just the nice side of my brush, pulling that down. It's a nice crisp edge. And don't be afraid to turn your canvas the way it works for you. I don't really use an easel very often, especially on smaller canvases. I rarely ever do. I like to use them on large canvases, but I typically like to paint flat. I always have like a steadier hand or something to rest it on. I'm doing this fairly quickly, but I'll clean up that edge along here. I do want that lip to be nice and clean. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of white. Do that. And I'm going to lighten this area up here. I'm going to do that fairly loosely. I'm going to switch my brush to this round one. And I'm going to go, I guess, a step darker than that bright white I just put there. I'm going to lay in my lip of my vase. So you can get images like this if you don't want to freehand. You can find a lot of images that are free on the internet and not licensed. So you can go and print one off. Actually, there's a wonderful artist named Boelter, Boelter. He actually sells coloring books online where you can download them, and the whole coloring book is $1, and it has just fun plant images that you can use to color at home with your family, on your own, use them as a tracing pattern for paintings. I don't know, I just think he's like a really cool artist, and I love his paintings are really they are really clean and simple, and there's no blending. It's they're more like illustrations. It's really they're really cool. So I would definitely check his work out. He's on Instagram and Facebook. Okay, so I've got a lip on there, and that wraps around to the back. And now I'm going to darken this side up. Switch my brush back. I'm just going to use some brush strokes just to do a little bit of marrying these grays together. I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I'm going to go back. I'm going to put some regular white, just some bright white on here. And I'm going to get my nice, I have a script liner brush, but any kind of really small, fine brush. We want to put on our little, our cactus. We're going to make this cactus come to life. We're going to make it prickly, just like the name. So I've got a nice thin brush with some paint on it. Sleeve. I'm just gonna place some dots around here, and they don't always have to be consistent or the same, you know, some are bigger than others. And they also come off a little bit. This is already dry. I can put my arm on it. It's okay. I'm just placing those randomly all over. Kind of a nice, quick little painting you can do. And you can make it as small as you want. I've seen them where they do them really on like little postcard or even smaller, like square 2x2 canvases are super cute too. But yeah, I'll go back in and kind of darken that up a little bit. But yeah, this is our nice contrast. So think about when you're doing a painting where the light source would come from. So that's why my light source is coming from this side, and that's why this side is a little bit lighter than this side. This is where the shadows are. And so I've shadowed this side. I always have the light coming from here on the same part. I want to, wherever I have one color, I want to introduce it somewhere else. So I've used the sap green. I also have it up here, and it kind of ties all together. And I can go back in and touch this up if I want. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you try it at home. I'll list some supplies that we've used today, and if you have any questions, just let me know.